I'm gonna guess that you've seen the title of this video, you've seen the thumbnail, and you've seen my other video as well, and you're probably about ready to flame me, and you have your takes to take against my take, and you're gonna be like, but Reggie, the F-15E is goated as hell. Why do you hate the thing so much? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but that's not the focal point of this video. I'm basically here to give every single idiot, noob who has as garbage of a kill death ratio as I do a brief guide on top tier, getting there, what it meant for me, and what the planes were. So I'm going to quickly tell you, firstly, about my America grind for top tier. The grind honestly wasn't horrible. It was actually somewhat enjoyable, and it only took about 22 days. Now, for grinding, the cost was $70, of course, for the AV8B NA Harrier 2, which, in my opinion, is definitely one of the best premiums to go for, especially for air. It can easily farm air targets, and it's also pretty good at base bombing, and it's really good at sim. You can follow a guide for it online, and I have made an actual review video for the AV8B NA before, and it was overall a pretty easygoing experience. And I would say, in terms of just picking up and playing, it's not bad to start with a plane like this. It's not like all guarantees or anything, and I can't really justify that you can convert skill to money, but for what it is and what level of skill it does require, it's pretty good. And it's overall made the grind to top tier pretty solid. Now, on the other hand, I'm going to tell you about Mirage F1C 200, which is the original top tier premium grinder for France. Now they have added the NF5A, which is millions of miles better than the F1C. And I haven't made a video on F1C yet, but what I will say is Mirage F1C is a headache. Possibly one of the worst planes I've ever played. And if you were before the Leviathans update, then you needed this plane to get to top tier. Without it, you didn't really have a good top tier option. The only other option is the Milan, which is my favorite plane and limited access, but as you see on my video, it's not great. So the F1Z being required surely would be a solid plane, right? Well, it's arguably one of the worst planes of its BR. It really suffers when it comes to three things, which is weapons, the amount of ammo you get for your weapons, and the fact that its airframe is pretty bad. Now, when you compare stuff, generally you want to look at these things for air battles because that's what matters. If you have good weapons but not enough of them, then you're bad. If you don't have enough good weapons and you don't have good weapons at all, then you're also not doing well. And if your airframe is trash, then it doesn't matter how many weapons you carry. If you can't get your missiles on target, then you're worth nothing. The Mirage F1C is the absolute epitome of all of this because it's garbage. It has terrible turn rate. It flies like a brick. It has possibly the worst RWR. It's insanely stupid because the defas are really low velocity, so not only can you not turn, but you can't land your shots if you wanted to. There's no EEGS. Your radar is garbage. You can't lock anything immediately under you, and it has no good radar modes. The flight performance is terrible, just in general. The only good thing about this plane is it gets two of the Magic 2 missiles, which are really good missiles, except the Mirage is kind of bad at turning, so it's a bit hard to get those missiles on point. The missiles are still good, yes, but once you run out of those two missiles, or if one of them magically goes for flares despite having IRCCM because you're skill issued like me, then you're basically down to nothing. The Defas aren't bad guns, but they're slow, which means the odds of you hitting something aren't great. And the weapons that you get other than the magics are the Matra 530s, and you get the early Matra 530. And if you haven't tried the early Matra 530s, good for you, it's terrible. They have a notorious reputation for following stuff that doesn't exist. When you lock a target with this plane's radar and you shoot that 530, odds are it's going to pull 15 Gs to the opposite direction of the target before losing lock and doing nothing. Now, granted, on occasion, the F-1C does get some decent hits, but overall, it's just a painful plane to progress the French tech tree through. Now, it might be better than the Milan, but it's honestly stupid to even consider something like this, considering the different stages of development and their different tiers. So, why bring this up? Because I am going to talk about how it felt to get to top tier and how it feels to play through top tier. Now, top tier, I'm definitely not the most biggest top tier fan, like 14.0 top tier. This BR range is hell. There is nothing good in this BR range. You either know how to notch and are an absolute god, or you're sitting 50 meters to the ground hoping and praying that the 17 R77s do not come down and hit you like hail, which is extremely annoying. And honestly, I hate BVR, and I think it's possibly one of the worst mechanics. And what makes it worse is that the one top tier plane that I did painstakingly grind through for 22 days, just dropping bombs on ground targets and slinging AIM 9Ls and accidentally hitting teammates, was the F-15E. And this plane, I have already complained about an excessive amount of times that it's just bad. Now, when you're at low speed and you're actually trying to play the game and you're dogfighting someone, maybe it's not horrible. You get a surprisingly decent turn rate, and I do dunk on the turn rate a lot and the roll rate, but when you're below Mach, when you're at like Mach 0.6, 0.7, you actually get a pretty decent turn time and roll rate and all that. You can maneuver your way pretty well, and you can sling your 9Ms off. Why 9M and not 120? Because the 120s don't hit that often. I love the AMRAAM as much as the next guy, but in this current state, it's not the best missile ever, especially not at close range, and especially not the C5 version. Apparently, the AIM 120B is better than the C5, which is really dumb, but we're going to glaze over that for a second and talk about the actually good parts of the plane, which is you can throw AIM 9Ms. Now, the bad part of the plane, which is when you're above Mach 1, you cannot turn for your life. If you're multipathing, I would recommend that you turn on the air brake, and when that missile RWR ping comes, you drop your speed down to Mach 7 or Mach 0.7, so that way you can maneuver and actually dodge the missiles. And if somebody tries to jam into you into a dogfight, then you can easily turn in and try to get an AIM 9M off. Now, I tell you this because top tier is rough, and if you're a newer player who is eyeing the F-15E and you have similarly trash abilities, then you probably deserve to know that if you're not a god at notching, and it's really hard to learn, by the way, then it's probably not the best plane for you, and you will suffer. Now, on the bright side, the F-15E is absolutely godlike at cast, which is what it's intended to do, and that's why I got the thing. Although, if you are skill issued as much as I am, you'll find it incredibly hard to spawn the thing because it is a top-tier strike aircraft, which means you need about 900-something spawn points to spawn the thing with missiles. When I mean missiles, I mean IR-guided missiles, which drives the spawn point cost up really high, which, for stupid people like me, is extremely hard to get. Getting a 3-kill game is honestly a blessing, especially when you're using a premium like RDF-LT, which has some struggles with Gaijin. And even if you are using better tanks, getting the kills needed is still pretty rough. And next, I would like to talk about the other side of the top tier spectrum, which is the better plane that I have, which is the Mirage 4000, which I have played for a considerable amount of time now, and I can honestly say is one of my favorite planes to play in air-realistic battles. It has the classic Mirage airframe following the Delta Wing, and it has some light canards as well. They don't move. Your maneuverability isn't Rafale, but the maneuverability, unlike the F-15E, is cracked. Granted, it's 13.0 and not 14.0, and it does not have Fox 3s, but it has 8 Magic 2s, or 6 Magic 2s and 2 530s, which is what I recommend, And unlike the F1C, which was absolute hell to play, which you're going to have to repeatedly either base bomb or just get 1 kill per life with that thing, the Mirage has the 4000. It has EGS, so you can aim your guns. It has way more Magic 2s, so you don't have to care if you miss. You have the late 530s, which actually bother to hit what you're aiming at, and you actually have a decent radar and RWR system. I tell you this why? Because I tell you, one thing is worth it in the start and not worth it in the end. The other thing is worth it in the end, but not worth it at the start. The Mirage 4000 cast cost is really low. You can just die after like 1.5 kills, and you can spawn the Mirage 4000 with 4 ASL 30 Nords and a couple of guided bombs, which are, I believe, BGL 400s. It's pretty cracked, and I do love it a lot, and I do want to show that there is some insane variation when getting to the top. And finally, I do want to make a quick statement about the Strike Mirage, the Mirage 2000D RMV, which is another quote top tier plane end quote, but it's not really. At a battle rating of only 12.7, it's the end of the line for the bomber line, and it's been a solid plane. It's a Mirage 2000 with only the Magic 2s and only gets 2 of them, but it does have an HMD and a MAW, which is great, except that's really all you get. So when you're actually in a fight, you have just 2 missiles to win, no guns. That's it. Which the experience has been alright for me. It's good at ground strikes, I guess, but the thing about the hammers is that they aren't really missiles as they are rocket propelled bombs. And also the thing about the F-15E, which is that its cast cost is stupidly high, because it's not only 12.7 in air, but it's 12.7 in ground. Basically, this entire video and 12-minute rant I just made to tell you it's not really worth getting top tier that much. Please don't do it, and if you are going to do it, do the Mirage 4000. It's fun. That's all.